a few seconds. I'll give TC Media a couple more seconds. So. All right, with that, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 Tumwater City Council work session. I'm calling the meeting to order. And I think we'll just not do roll call. All council members are present this evening, so we will go ahead and do that. So the first thing on the agenda is, John, should I pull the one item that we're going to postpone now or wait until after we come back?
Why don't you go ahead and do it now?
Okay, so on item 5B, the council consideration, the 2023 legislative session report, we're going to pull that off and do that at a future time. Not all the participants was able to attend tonight, so we will do that. We will do that at a future date. All right. So with that, we are going to go into executive session, and the council will now meet in executive session to evaluate qualifications of an applicant for public employment pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 sub 1 sub G. The council will be in executive session for 15 minutes. So we'll be back at 6:16, and the council is expected to take further action following the executive session. And everyone was given a, John?
Well, I think you were going to say it, but there are 2 executive sessions and 2 different invitations. So you want to make sure you click for this one, the one that says first executive session.
Perfect. So we will then recess and we'll make it, I'll change that by 1 minute. We'll come back at 6:17. So we will adjourn here and be back in 15 minutes. So this is notification that we're going to spend another 5 minutes. Well, we will come back at 6:25 to go ahead and reconvene. So I'm just extending the time period. Okay, welcome back. I believe that I'm waiting for one more council member to join us. There we go. And all right, so I'm calling the Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 City Council work session back to order. The first item we have, and the next item we have is a consent calendar. And this is to approve the item for the 2023 to 2028 Nisqually Jail Agreement. Do I have a motion on the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
I second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Althauser, second by Councilmember Agavi. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the approving the consent calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Okay, that we have now approved the consent calendar. So now we're going to move to council considerations. The first item is confirmation for the appointment and approval of an employment agreement for Lisa Parks as a city administrator. And I will turn this over to John Doan to start this process.
Great, thank you, Madam Mayor. And at the end of last year, with my announcement of my pending retirement, the city announced the opening of the city administrator position. We hired a consulting firm to assist us with that recruitment. We did a nationwide recruitment. We went through a multi-day interview process involving a variety of different constituencies and work groups, in labor unions, in the community. We held a public reception with all of the candidates and invited the public and the council to participate in that. And at the end of that process, the mayor is bringing forward the proposed hiring of Lisa Parks to be Tumwater's next city administrator. Lisa is currently the executive services director for the Port of Olympia, where she's been since 2021. Prior to the port, she has been a planner in private practice, the executive director of the Port of Douglas County in Eastern Washington for 8 years, a community development director in the city of Leavenworth, and a planner in Douglas County. She's a graduate of Eastern Washington University and has been involved in a number of professional organizations. I've had a chance to work with Lisa a little bit in our work with the port around the pocket gopher, and had an opportunity to meet all the candidates. I wasn't part of the interview process, but had a chance to meet all of the candidates. And I'm very impressed with Lisa's interest and her commitment to Tumwater, and enthusiasm for moving Tumwater and a number of projects that we have going on forward, and leading an amazing team of individuals, both elected officials, but also our staff forward into the future. So it's a pleasure to be able to bring forward an employment contract that I worked on with Lisa and recommended to the mayor, worked with the mayor to bring forward that contract for her employment. So with that, I would entertain any questions. Otherwise, Lisa is actually here. There she is. And is available to comment. If you would like to say a few words, Lisa, at this time, we'd usually invite you up to the dais. You are at the virtual dais right now.
All right, thank you so much. I'm actually very honored to be selected as Tumwater's new city administrator. Thanks to everyone involved in the selection process. It was actually a lot of fun, even as it was a bit nerve-wracking. I'm really excited to be joining such a fantastic organization. I'm really committed to working collaboratively with the mayor, council, staff, and the larger community as Tumwater works its way through a myriad of challenges and opportunities. I hope to build on the legacy of high quality, compassionate public service that's been established by those who have come before me, including Mr. Doan. And I would just extend sincere thanks to John for all that he's done for the community over the past 13 years. His are big shoes to fill, and given as tall as he is, that's probably both literally and figuratively true. And I am happy to answer any questions, and really excited to get started very soon working with the City of Tumwater.
Great, thank you. I guess I had to unmute myself. Any discussion? Are we ready to make a motion? Councilmember Dalha?
Thank you, Mayor. So with this process and the announcement made on Friday, I've received feedback from 8 people. And council's also received feedback from our 3 unions with a request. And so I just want to, before the vote, acknowledge my bias with the community members who have reached out to me. And I also want to acknowledge my bias as a current union member in my employment, and the bias that I have of my family being involved and engaged with union work for generations. So I just want to share that for the record, and with respect to our community and respect to our staff and respect to our union members and respect to my seatmates and respect of our mayor and all the candidates, I'm going to respectfully vote no. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Councilmember Althauser?
Thanks, Mayor. I think no time like the present. I'll get us started with the motion. Before I do that, I do want to say a couple brief remarks and kind of go through sort of the merits and the rationale and my sort of thought process as we approached this vote once it got scheduled and announced, and everything we've discussed and kind of worked through since that time. And I think I first just want to acknowledge that obviously there's some very strong feelings about, the action that we're going to take. And I think that, that's not surprising. I think that that's a good thing, because what we're talking about is the future of our city, a place that we all love and adore and that we want to see prosper. I think those are goals that you share, Lisa, that I share, that everyone on this council shares, because we all have a vested deep interest in ensuring that we have a thriving and supportive and inclusive community, whether you live here or work here or both of those things, perhaps for a number of our staff. We all have an interest in participating in a successful professional organization. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this decision and the vote and about our role as a council in this process. And it's not a decision that I take lightly, or I think that anyone on this council takes lightly, and for good reason as well. And Mayor, when the voters elected you, they elected an executive officer with the power to fill this vacancy should it become open at any point in time. And that's probably the most important decision you'll make as mayor, perhaps. Certainly one that I think when we look back on your legacy as mayor, that this is a watershed moment for you personally and for the city as well, moving forward. A process was constructed to give you input. We all gave you input as well, and you took that into account and arrived at a decision with a candidate. And now, tonight, I think the questions that before us are somewhat limited. We're not weighing other candidates. We're not weighing this person or that person. We're weighing the merits of an individual. And I think what I use to sort of evaluate the decision before us, which is kind of a 2-part question, is sort of these 4 different prongs. First, we're authorizing a contract. Is the salary in the contract commensurate with experience and compensation? Is it fair, to use a simple term? I think that it is. For the public's knowledge, that amount is, I believe, $169,000 a year. There are other cities in our area that offered contracts or had advertised at least significantly higher salaries, though granted their populations are a little bit higher, but hiring is difficult. This is a difficult job, and I think that $169,000 a year is appropriate levels of compensation for the contract that we're voting on. Second, does the contract provide adequate protections for the city in the event that something unforeseeable happens down the road? Does the mayor's power of retention and the power of dismissal, is that retained in the contract? I believe plainly that it is. It's an at-will position. The contract does provide for 6 months of severance pay, but I think that that's a good thing, because if there is an unforeseeable separation, in all fairness to any candidate, it would be very difficult to go find an executive management job in a period of less than 6 months. So that seems like a fair contractual term to me. Third, are there any terms that are missing in the contract that should be there? And I've read through the contract many times. I've also read through the past contracts for previous city administrators, and they all seem pretty similar. I didn't notice any glaring omissions or errors or things that I thought should be corrected. And I think my fourth sort of prong of evaluation and criteria is whether the candidate is qualified, because we are confirming an appointment that has been made by the mayor. And, it's not, I don't think it's a question of if I would have preferred another candidate or something along those lines. I think it's a question of whether this candidate meets the qualifications that were listed within the job description. Or if they do not meet those qualifications, I think that needs to be articulable as to why or how. And part of the reason why I think we're not comparing and contrasting people is because we aren't part of the interview panel. It wouldn't necessarily be fair for me to judge other candidates based on an interview if I did not participate in that and don't have kind of the requisite knowledge that other people have who did participate in that. What I can judge, I think, is what's been officially documented, things that were submitted to us, resume materials, answers, written answers to questions, essentially the resume packet, and then my own personal interactions with you as a candidate as well, Lisa, at the forum that we all attended. Based on those materials, I do think, I've been kind of saying the candidate and you, and I'm not sure if I should do this for third person or second person, but I do think you are qualified based on that requisite knowledge, based on those documented materials. I think you have an extensive work history within the public sector and government in different types of service. You obviously have not been a city administrator before, but neither was the first city administrator, right? Like, we all have to, also as someone who's kind of punched up above his resume historically, I sort of sympathize with that a little bit too. But those are my four metrics that I use to sort of weigh this decision, which is a two-parter. It's, do we affirm, and is the contract fair? And I think the answer to those questions is yes, but that's also something that I don't take lightly. And when I make that decision, the final thing I'm thinking about is what is the alternative to if the answer to those questions is no. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that I have some concern about a precedent that could set in terms of the form of government that we have, which for better or for worse is the strong mayor form of government. The mayor makes hiring decisions, dismissal decisions. It's different than in Lacey. It's different than in Olympia. That's the system of government we have, both for better and for worse. And this isn't the only position that requires councilmatic confirmation. It's also the finance director as well as the city attorney. And I think I would be concerned a bit about setting a precedent that decisions that are made for hiring for those very important critical decisions are subject to potential political whims of future councils. That's not something I'm worried about with this body. Obviously, a lot of us, I think, are cut of the same cloth in that we all want to see Tumwater succeed. That's something that I would be worried about for a prospective future council that we can't control, that we don't know what it'll look like. So those are the things that are running through my mind. And I think it's also important to conclude with just kind of talking about how this is the beginning of what I hope is an exciting beginning, and that my commitment to you, Lisa, as an incoming administrator, should the council vote to confirm you here, is that I want to have an open door and be available, because we all have a vested interest in your success. All of us want nothing but for you to succeed should you be confirmed, because if you succeed, you know, we're made more successful, the city's made more successful, we're made a more prosperous, better place to live, to work, and to play. And I also want to make myself available to other folks, be a conduit, be helpful in any way that I can in order to make that successful, to be a resource. So with that reasoning, with that rationale in mind, you know, I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Lisa Parks as the city's next administrator and authorize the mayor to sign the proposed employment agreement.
This is Angela, I second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Althauser, seconded by Councilmember Jefferson. Any discussion on the motion? With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, the motion carries 6-1. Thank you very much, everyone. And this was a great discussion, and welcome, Lisa. And I look forward to working together and making the transition into the city of Tumwater. And John has already offered his great wisdom and assistance in making that transition as smooth as possible. Thank you, John.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Agabi.
may I make a quick statement? I promise I won't take too long.
Okay,
So on the day that we were supposed to meet the candidate, I went around the room and I was asking each one of the candidates why they had chose to apply. And I don't remember specifically what I said with Lisa. I believe I asked her about the changing that we're going through in Tumwater and how happy that at least we are going to have at least a woman city council manager. I don't know if Lisa remember that interaction. So Lisa, welcome aboard. Sometimes changes are very, very difficult, but we must go through changes in life because it's part of our evolution. So I hope you will find Tumwater a very good place to work.
Thank you. I'm very appreciative of the conversation tonight. I understand the gravity of the decision that's been made. I take very seriously the responsibility that comes with this position. And I too would like to ensure that and invite everyone to know that I have an open door policy myself. I appreciate conversations, direct and transparent conversations about concerns, ideas, and successes. And so I'm really looking forward to joining you all. I do have a strong commitment to the vision and the mission that I have at least initially come to understand. And I hope to come to a better understanding of that. And I really am looking forward to working with each and every one of you and the community as a whole. Thank you very much.
thank you. Councilmember Kathy, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say welcome to Lisa, and I'm glad to hear she has an open door, because that's one of the things I've really appreciated about John Doan. And I feel really good tonight about new direction for Tumwater and Lisa coming on board. But I have to admit, I'm sad to see John go. I'm gonna miss him. And I think he's been the right person for Tumwater during these 13 years. And way back when, his being hired in Tumwater at a time of change, and 13 years ago, he was the right person to lead us forward. And I want to thank you, John, for everything, for all the ways that you have cared about us as individuals and this city, and talk about a legacy. You're leaving one and helping to set us on this path. And I just want to say that because, Lisa, I think this is a watershed time for Tumwater. Tumwater hasn't had a whole lot of city administrators. And as Michael said, and I want to thank you, Michael, for, you know, all that you said and kind of set a framework for us tonight. So I think we are off on a new adventure. And John, thank you for everything. And even though sometimes you'll probably put your head in your hands and go, oh my God, what are they doing now? I'm looking forward to you being supportive from afar or up close or any way you can. So welcome, Lisa, and thank you, John.
If I can just say thank you, Councilmember Kathy, and yes, as the ship sails off with everyone on it, I've committed to Lisa that I will help in whatever way I can to make that transition as smooth and as successful as possible, which I'm fully confident it can be. I think it's an exciting next chapter for Tumwater.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. And welcome, Lisa. The next item, I'm going to turn it over to Lance Inman, who is going to be talking about council tablets, devices, and replacement discussion. So good evening, Lance.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Well, it's just over 4 years ago in the fire training room there that we gave you all iPads, not knowing there was going to be a whole bunch of hybrid meetings coming. And one of the problems we ran into with the iPads is they turn off the camera when you view your documents. So as a workaround, we gave you a second iPad. So it is time to start thinking about what the next solution looks like. And really, we've came down to 2 different options. I'll bring up a slide in a minute here. One is to keep working how you're working with 2 iPads. And the other option would be to switch to a Windows laptop, more like what the staff would use, the standard Dell laptop. So let me get my PowerPoint up here. And just we'll go through the the big differences in the 2. All right, so the biggest thing that we're trying to solve by adding the Windows option for you was to let you view documents while using Zoom at the same time. You get a little bigger screen. We are moving to Microsoft hosted services for email, for file storage, things like that in the future. And that's part of one of the things why this project's been delayed a little bit. We want to make sure we give these laptops to you ready to go and we don't have to pull them back in and reconfigure them. The other advantage we have on the laptop side, the Windows laptop, we will be able to remote into them and assist you in person, or not in person, but remotely. We'll be able to control your mouse and see what's on your screen. We can't do that with the iPads. One of the other things that was approved in the budget were smartphones for the council. And with the Windows laptop, you'll be able to use your choice of Android or iPhone. If you do decide to go with the iPad again, I would strongly suggest you pick an iPhone. They just work really well together. The Windows laptop is a larger and heavier solution. So just one thing, a little shorter battery life, and every once in a while, Windows will bug you with updates. The iPads are a little nicer about that. Costs are pretty similar in the end. Well, because we're using 2 iPads, it kind of makes it pretty close. What we'll probably end up doing is using your current larger iPad to view documents and your new iPad to use Zoom. It has a really nice new camera features. So going back to over to the advantages of the iPads, the biggest thing is it's going to be just like you're using it now. You know, they're convenient. They have a much longer battery life, and the hardware and software will just kind of always do the same thing. A little more predictable. I guess that is all on that. You kind of know the iPad solution. So any thoughts or questions on the 2 different solutions we're making available?
Any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just chime in. I mean, if people have questions, this is a great time to ask Lance. if you have a particular preference this evening, one way or the other, go ahead and let us know. If you want to ponder this or talk to other people or whatever, just let us know over the next week which direction you think you want to go.
Great. I saw Michael and then I'll go to, I'm sorry, Councilmember Althauser, then I'll go to Councilmember Swarthout.
Thanks. So just to confirm what I think you said, if our iPad Pro is like largely fine, we can just keep that and then just do a new mini, and that would be a way to kind of upgrade the video features, but still save a little bit of money.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll actually take the mini you have now back. We'll buy another iPad Pro, just so that we know that it'll go the whole 5 years or so. We're going to keep running them. And then you will use the 2 iPad Pros, the new one and the old one.
Oh, okay.
The
We
minis
wouldn't,
were
we wouldn't
actually,
be able to get a new mini. The mini is nice for video because it's mini.
Right.
Like,
so
uh,
actually, if you prefer the mini, I think we can do that. This is actually, we can switch that over to a mini.
Yeah.
They're much more affordable.
yeah,
I'll have to check if when the last refresh on the mini was, because that wasn't originally part of our idea, but yeah, we could definitely do that.
yeah. That would be for me personally, that would be my my iPad Pro is fine, but the mini would be the better. Video would be better.
So I'm going to go to Councilmember Swarthout and then Councilmember Jefferson.
Thank you. I agree with Michael. I didn't realize that's an option too. It's nice having the smaller one when you're going to meetings. Because I take my mini when I like do TRPC and different meetings that I go to. So I appreciate the size and the packability. I guess the only thing is when you do try to travel with it, I guess working it out that we have access, because I think it's the same with Microsoft if we did the Windows laptop as well, but just having access to be able to log in. So that's my only concern that I have with when we go out of town and take our equipment with us.
So with the smartphone, I'm not completely sure what options we're looking at, but that may actually take care of some of that too.
So with the smartphone, we can have a hotspot.
I'll have to check the budget, but yeah, it's an extra $10 a month to activate that feature. But yes, we can have hotspots available on those for you.
Oh, I too prefer the 2 iPads, the mini, because it's good for traveling. And then, like Eileen said, you can use it for work when you're on the beach so I prefer the 2 iPads.
Did you say work on the beach, Angela? I'm jelly.
Councilmember Agabi.
Windows. Take your iPad back.
Sounds like you're not going to get 100% here, Lance.
Oh, I was already informed that we would not get 100%. So.
All right. So do you want council members, I'll let you finish your presentation, but do you want them to just go ahead and email you what they want, just so that you know after you're done?
Sometime in the next week or so, send an email to Hannah and she'll forward them on.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll let you finish your presentation.
Really, that's as far as the pros and cons of the 2 solutions. That's really it. And then the 4 phones that are currently up that are viable options right now through our provider are these. But I would recommend either the iPhone 13 or the Pixel 7, depending if you prefer Apple or Google. And then again, if you do decide to go with the iPad option, I would strongly suggest you choose an iPhone.
Great. Any more questions? Perfect. So everybody can just go ahead and send your request to Hannah, and then she will get all that information to Lance. And then Lance, I was going to ask what kind of time frame, just so that everyone's kind of has a ballpark. Late summer, early fall. Perfect.
Yeah, so because we are trying to get Microsoft licenses in place and set up to support this solution, it's really the Microsoft laptops that are holding it up a little bit. The phones, we can go ahead and get going right away as soon as we know what everyone wants. And we'll do the iPads at the same time as laptops, just so we don't get an odd cycle for replacements.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Any additional questions or comments? All right, thanks, Lance. This is, I know that it's taken a while to kind of get through all of this, but I really appreciate this and getting additional solutions to what fits best for everybody's work style. So,
Problem. Thank you.
all right. So the next item is Mayor City Administrator Report. And John, you have future of hybrid and virtual meetings.
Yeah, so this is just returning to a topic. I think it was probably 3 or 4 months ago. We had this conversation. It was during the legislative session. We were just creating some space to have a conversation about your current meeting structure. Again, you have regular meetings, which are hybrid. And so people can view them a variety of different ways over the internet and over TC Media. They can also come to a meeting in person. Council can come to the meeting in person, or council could appear virtually. Then we have these things called work sessions, and as you saw from last night's agenda, those are sort of evolving a little bit, and we're continuing to sort of work on those. You know, they're different in that they are entirely virtual. And that's been sort of a new feature from pre-pandemic, because previously, this is particularly for those of you who joined us during the pandemic, you know, work sessions were held in the fire station. They were at the same time as they are now, but they were held in the fire station in person, and were not broadcast. And similarly with committees, they were held in person in the council chambers, and were not broadcast. And currently all of them are done virtually. So I don't know that we're particularly advocating a specific position, but just wanted to create some space so that you all could talk about is what we're doing what you want to keep doing, or do you want to consider something in terms of a change? And if there's a change, we can talk about when and how and what after that.
Any questions? Councilmember Althauser, you have your mic on. Is that meaning you want to speak?
Sure. I personally, I mean, I guess I should wait to see if folks have questions. I don't have questions. I just have an opinion.
Go right ahead.
I think I mean, there sort of seem to be 3 types of meetings. For the council meetings, I think it's important to have a hybrid option for individuals if they are traveling so that they could participate. I think that's a good, just sort of honestly a quality of life kind of thing, so that folks would be able to participate if they are from afar. I think that that's also a helpful tool to have for individuals who might want to participate in a special item of special consideration, but might not be able to appear in council personally. So I think that's not only a tool for council members, I think it's also a tool for the public as well to be able to participate in different ways. And for people to also provide comment remotely as well. I think that that is a good feature. That's also a feature that our legislature has kept around since the pandemic, and I think it's worked pretty well. So I'm comfortable with how council meetings are currently structured. For committee meetings, I'm comfortable still keeping those remote as well, because I just think it's incredibly more convenient and also more transparent for the public, because people are able to see the meetings in a better fashion. So I like that. Work sessions, I think, are the area where I'm kind of waffly, where if folks wanted those to become hybrid, I would be open to that. But I don't feel particularly strongly about work sessions. The issue that I had with some of those was getting there at 5:30 was really difficult if you were doing it in person, but now we've pushed that back to 6 p.m., which makes it a little bit easier to do that. That of course doesn't resolve concerns that if folks do have concerns about appearing somewhere in person, I want to honor those and recognize those too. So I don't have strong feelings or opinions on that portion.
Any other comments? Councilmember Jefferson, are you're still muted, Councilmember Jefferson.
Yes, I agree with what Michael had to say. And for transparency and work-life balance and especially for my 0800 public health and safety meeting and just having to zoom in is good, and the chief not having to leave his office, and it just works out better for me. So I like things the way they are right now. Thanks.
Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thanks, Mayor. I agree with all of that. I'm just thinking about, we're talking about like fighting climate change and what that looks like. And is there a way, do we have a calculator, like how much we're saving by driving in our 18 square miles, right? The time and that work-life balance as well. And I love the transparency. And I also think back to when we had the work sessions at the fire station, how the flow of our working through stuff is different than it's been virtually, right? It just is naturally. The pauses, my dog Beatrice barking like this now at nothing outside, but that ebb and flow that we have not had that, right, in this. But I also appreciate the convenience to be able to listen to my dog bark at nothing, but also the caregiving and all of that stuff. So with Michael, I think I would be open to the hybrid of work session, but like, it's hard for me to want to go back to what we did, knowing how far we've moved forward in these elements, if that makes sense.
Councilmember Swarthout.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to echo their comments as well. The one thing though that I guess I want to say is that it's like when we did the meeting the other day, when we had a chance to meet we actually had an in-person council meeting and everybody was there, and it was really nice because we haven't seen each other very always. And so I guess I missed that personal contact. Sometimes it's hard on Zoom. It's sometimes just easy to when you're the free flow of conversation that we could have during work sessions. Sometimes it just seems like it's easier to sit and be quiet during a Zoom session and just, take the information in rather than having like, back and forth. So I don't know. So, but I'm also very conscious, as far as, making it available for, our members that aren't able to, different reasons are not able to join. So I guess I'm kind of back and forth on that one, but I do miss the personal aspect of kind of working through things during work session.
So can I check in here and see if I'm hearing this correctly? What I'm hearing is hybrid for both work session and council meetings, and then leaving the committee meetings in Zoom strictly. Is that what I'm hearing? Councilmember Althauser.
I guess I forgot to ask, John, is the fire room capable of doing a hybrid meeting? Like, would we have to invest in technology to do that? Or would we have to have the work sessions in council chambers where we have the technology already available?
I would need to ask either Lance or Ann if the fire station could do that.
The way we used to do it on the fire station was I would call in and there would be a phone on top of the garbage can. So hopefully we've advanced.
Yeah, we got rid of the garbage can.
Okay.
Ann or Lance, what do we know?
The production quality isn't good enough, I would say. In the fire station, we either have to invest in technology for that room or have it in council chambers.
I would agree.
If it was in council chambers, are the cameras capable of doing it in that round table format? When we put the tables in front of the dais in a large rectangle so that it's more collegial and less form, because that's part of the bonus of the work, work sessions are less formal. It's more of a free flow conversation. That sort of format seems more conducive to that conversation.
So,
But, yeah.
no, you go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, typically for a work session, there's a lot of other questions to ask to actually answer that. But typically for a non-council meeting, hybrid meeting in there, we would have a single camera. So whatever we can fit on that view of the camera is what we're gonna see. So if we arrange seating in a way that fits well on one camera, maybe it could work, but we'll have to test a few seating scenarios.
I guess what I would suggest is, if that's the interest, is having hybrid meetings for your work sessions, then let us go explore that rather than trying to engineer it here in this meeting. And, we can look at the fire station, I think there's probably also an issue in using the council chambers, because we have planning commission.
Planning commission, yeah.
And that's been a sort of ongoing challenge, particularly for our staff who have to, flip from one meeting to the other meeting. And so we'd come back with some ideas to talk through with you in terms of options.
Councilmember Agabi and then Councilmember Kathy.
So for me personally, COVID, although not a very good thing, but generally have been very, very good, because it reduces conflict in workplace. So not seeing too many people, no conflict, being around people, increase conflict. So if he has worked, I don't see why we should change. But on a serious note, there was an article in Forbes magazine on Tuesday about going back to work. And one of the reasons that they gave for going back to work is because it has always been done, even though the benefit that have accrued from doing working from home is more than what we would get if we all went back to the office. So for example, we talked about climate change. So Leila talked about our 18 square city limit. If I'm driving back and forth just to go to a city council or work session meeting, when there's no need for me to do that, all that CO2 that I've pumped into the atmosphere would not be an issue. So having said that, let's first see if going back to what we did in the past was actually beneficial before, oh, let's do hybrid and let's not do hybrid. No, it was not beneficial. He did that because that was our tradition. That was what we were used to doing. When COVID happened, and now we find out we can do something else. So that's it.
Can I make a comment, Mayor?
I don't think the mayor realized she's muted.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Yes, Councilmember Kathy.
I just want to say that isn't there a way for us to do our work sessions as the way they are now and be more interactive, or I agree with Eileen, meeting and being together is, and we have that option with our council meetings, but trying to do new technology or all sit all huddled up so we can all get on one camera, or, some of these things, or spend more money so we can have a hybrid work session. Seems like, is there a way to be more casual or more connected, or interrupt each other more, or laugh, or, be personal, or do, I seem to find myself doing that at meetings, but, make, I think we need to maintain order. That's why the mayor needs to call on us, but maybe I just need to say, hey, Michael, I'd like to make a comment about what you just said, or something, without going through getting permission all the time, and just be respectful people like we used to be in council. We used to be, I don't mean we're not respectful anymore, but how we used to do it in work sessions. I'm just wondering if we could experiment with a little bit more connectedness in the format before we go spending money on new technology and whatever. Experiment with that maybe first. So just a comment.
So I'll say this is a good, this is good comments and things, because it was just kind of more of a check-in. What's working? What's not working? Do we want to change things? How do we mix it up? Just because this is where we were at, do we want to adjust or revise or kind of bring different elements into it? So, this is something that first, I think we can probably have staff look and see what it takes to do that to making a hybrid for work sessions and how that would work, to see if that's even, they may come up and say it would be like this, and we'd all go, no, that's not going to work. So, but at least bringing it up before we have staff actually start looking into those things and true, we probably don't need to be as formal in work sessions. I just always want to make sure that we don't get out of control, and then it's especially when we have business to take care of. That a lot of times before it was more presentations and discussion, but if we're having things business we need to take care of, then we have to do it in probably a more formal way than just a discussion. So,
Mayor, one final question.
I think that can be done by us respecting, or Mayor, for you to step in and say, I want to talk about this. Let's get back to this or that or the other. But I just don't think our work sessions need to be as regulated and formal. And so I just think as an experiment, maybe we could try that, just like me interrupting Angela right now. She's not going to hold it against me or whatever, or I'm going to say,
I will not.
go ahead, Angela, and kind of have it be a little bit more interactive. And I'm not trying to take you out of it, Mayor. I'm trying to make it easier and just help the flow along and accomplish things. But if it's a big thing that we need to sit down, shut up, and listen to what you have to say and give our opinions on, then we need to do that. So anyway, maybe we could be big kids about this. Be fun.
And I think most of it is, how do we become more connected and personal again? And, so this is kind of the experiment. Councilmember Jefferson?
Yes, Mayor. How does staff feel about it? Ann and Melody, because they're the ones behind the scenes making everything work. So can you check in with them and see how it's working for them? Work-life balance?
Yeah,
So,
we can do that.
John, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we still have to have a staff member, even when we're in total Zoom, to sit at City Hall with the door open to make available a person who wants to be there in person, who views the meeting in person. So even with us being in Zoom being easy, it still requires staff to be here in person. And I usually do the Zoom meetings from my office, but sometimes there's a individual that's here all by themselves doing the monitoring of the actual meeting, because we have to have a physical component to all of that for any citizen who wants to come in person. So, so that's something that is one of those things that council members may not be aware of, that it has to happen. So just so that you're aware that, that's the extra step the city has to take in all of this. So.
Yeah, I would respond to Councilmember Jefferson's question. I think it's a great question. Fundamentally, we'll make anything work. We're here to make it work. And, just as like the mayor points out, there are some challenges with, people sitting in rooms waiting for the public to come to a virtual meeting, but they don't ever, no one's ever come to a meeting like that. But we actually are required by state law to do that. But simultaneously, there are some benefits in terms of, staff being able to, attend a meeting from wherever, just like you talk about council members attending wherever, staff can do that. And particularly with committee meetings that happen during the day, There's for most folks far less interference in that they don't have to go set up a meeting room and sit in a meeting room, and they can sort of monitor what's happening in a meeting while also doing something else, mastering multitasking. So, all these things have trade-offs, and I appreciate the conversation. I think you've raised some excellent points, and we'll go back and see what we can bring back as a recommendation about how we could do that. And maybe it's just some tweakings. Maybe there's just some tweaking to sort of the structure of work sessions, so that they can have some more relaxed time. So yeah, we'll work on that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else, John?
No, I would just, the next thing on the agenda is another executive session. And again, encourage everyone to go to the Zoom. And I'm not trying to cut you off, Madam Mayor. You may have something else to add, but I just wanted, while I was talking, to remind everyone to go to the second executive session.
And John, 15 minutes on that one?
Yeah, let's make it 15.
Okay. So, and I did not have anything additional to add onto the mayor, city administrator report. So with that, we will be back at 7:31 and go ahead and move to that. So I will recess this meeting and we'll be back. All right, I am back because in the executive session that we're going into, I did not make the proper announcement. So the city council will be meeting in executive session to discuss a real estate acquisition pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 sub 1 sub B. The council will be in executive session for 15 minutes, which will be at 7:33, and we will not be expected to take further action following the executive session. We will come back to this meeting and adjourn from here. So we will be back at that time. Thank you. We will reconvene in 1 minute. Okay, it's 7:38, and with no additional business, I thank everyone for joining us this evening, and we are adjourned. Have a great evening. Thank you.